C4 Belts. Live from Australia. Hey, hello. A little bit late. I know. I'm sorry. Had to clean out the cat litter box. Had to get some things straight. Had to slap a couple kids across the street. But anyway, hope everybody's doing great tonight. Tonight's a special night for a good friend and good man, Mr. Colin. We're going to bring him on here in just a few minutes. But tonight we're going to talk with him. He's going to give us the full layover about how everything went down, how he came up with this, how he created this, because it's all about this belt. And it's an amazing belt. As you see, mine is right there. So before we introduce Colin, I want to share this with you. And this is what it's all about. All right. That's what it's all about, is the feeling we get when we have these belts. This is why this man created this belt, did it like it was 1986. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Colin, the owner of C4 Belts, to the program. Hey there, Colin.
Hello.
All the way in Australia time.
Finally, hey. Yes, yeah, just dropped the kids off at the zoo next door to the saddlery. So I'm sorry, a bit late. It's very hard.
Nobody's got time. We got time over here. It's 6 p.m., a little after 6 p.m. there here on Saturday. And for folks don't know, Colin's in Australia, and it is a little after 10 a.m. there on Sunday, correct?
Yeah, that's right. 10:28 a.m.
And you're joining us live where the leather is made for this belt, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So we're at the saddlery. There you can see I'm actually on the leather desk. So I'll show you a little bit. There's a belt there. There's all the nice leather we've cut, and here's a plate, so forth. And then behind me, all the saddles. So these are about $8,000 per saddle, these things. And yeah, so really only the very best. I accept nothing else but the very best for us.
Absolutely.
Members, you know? Yeah.
If there's a little bit of latency, folks, like I said, he's a long way away joining us from here. But first, everybody wants to know is how long have you been wanting to do this before you made this belt? When did the process start of you saying, "Hey, I want to make the belt like Ric Flair had, like they made it, like Crumrine, like the Ortiz family, like a silversmith"? What led that to pop in your head and say, "I wanted to do this"?
Well, just around COVID time and so forth, or just before that, I was just just like everyone else, a collector. So I started collecting and so forth. But the funny thing is, I've got in my personal life or my professional life, I'm a global manager of quality, safety, environmental, continuous improvement, and risk and so forth. So I guess a little bit differently is when I start looking at things, particularly when I started collecting and so forth, I was wondering, and I'm always thinking how to do things better. And then COVID hit and so forth, and I was like, okay. And I'm looking at these belts, and it's like, well, what's on offer has got nothing to do with silversmithing. The only one I ever found was the original Groovy G video, where it's not they had the master, the master belt that they made the cast of, and it's his first episode. And who would have thought? There's another Australian guy, which we came close a couple of years later, but that's when I started thinking, okay, now if I'm going to make a belt and spend $3,000, I might as well make the whole damn thing. So I started researching and I guess there's a different approach I take with even business or production or whatever you want to call it, getting things done, is that I don't think about like a short-term cut and run sort of thing. Like I could have easily just made a belt, casted it, and done all that sort of stuff. But the key was this: it was actually, it has to be more than a belt. It has to be more than just this looks better, or this is done differently. It's got to be something that actually means something. And and I was thinking, man, all these belts around, they call themselves crumb rind, but it's got nothing to do with crumb rind. It's got nothing to do with silversmithing. And I was like, okay. I got into buckles. See, the buckle. Crumb rind buckles.
Yep, I got one behind me. Yep.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. And so
got one right here.
That's it.
And it's you can tell when you look at these things. See, in mine. So it's yep.
Yeah, that's it.
And you can see how it's made by a silversmith, and people don't understand, but they throw that crumb rind name around really quick with their stuff.
That's right. Yeah, and I was thinking, if I owned a business, so I started this, so I made it. Geez, man, Charles Crumrind to be turning in his grave. If you saw, how people are shamelessly using the name, and I was like, no, I'm never going to use that name until I actually make one, and I get their blessing, or work with them, or anyone. And so I took a left field turn, I suppose, and I went to started collecting all these buckles, the actual vintage crumb run buckles that I can find off eBay. So that's probably why you can't find any much on eBay, because I probably bought them all in the early days. And you try, like early days, I tried to work with what was out there. So just like those like eBay people from Pakistan and things like that. No, they got very far. I remember if people follow me from the early days, they thought it was like, oh, you made an alternative to, the competition, which I won't mention.
And what year is your
them.
Your early days? What year is that we're talking about here? Or how many years ago was that?
I would say 2000. Yeah, roughly about 4 years ago or 2.
Okay.
Oh, well, I only started publishing things then. I worked behind the scenes quite a lot. And then so I started with Daniel Ripley. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Leather guy
was one of the early people, masters. Yeah. He was and he wanted to support me because we were doing some good things, even with those old Pakistani makers. All those improvements, the texturing and so forth, actually came from my guidance until I really got into silversmithing itself. And I made friends and contacts in the silversmithing industry. And I thought, what we're doing here, or what we were doing, that's why I know what the competition's like, or whatever. I don't call them competition, they're all they're all treasured people in the industry. But that's when I realized, no, I can't do this. I can't do what everybody else does. I want to make something real. I've got a contact here, and was named Mike Pardue. He's actually a Texas silversmith, and he started guiding me through what the differences are, what the real techniques are, because it's a totally different world. It's I get a lot of questions, oh, how thick are the plates? Is it zinc and so forth? It's very hard to basically it's very hard to explain this straight up, as in that silversmithing, it's an art form itself. It's jewelry making. The materials are totally different. The way we go about it is totally different. It's as you can see, it's a very personal thing with the artists themselves and so forth. And that's probably why it was quite impossible to make this, because even if we went to Mike or somebody else, they have their own skill and their own technique, their own fingerprint. Everyone has a fingerprint when it comes to making these. And for
Especially
some
when
reason,
they're handmade. Yeah, everybody's going to have their own technique when something's handmade, and that's what makes each one of them unique. And nobody can ever recreate the one from 1986
yes,
because it was an actual different silversmith. But that's what we're getting into here, is that lineage. How did you come about to getting that lineage of who is doing it, and your technique, and how you got into that, and got a hold of the
yeah,
RTs?
yeah.
Because we're
So
not gonna give
yeah,
away
it's a,
all your secrets and
yeah,
your
no,
stuff.
it's a
We're
lot.
not gonna tell
Yeah,
them that there's many Martians that come down and actually cut these belts, and Mr. Crumrine coming from his grave, and he's actually making them with you. We're not gonna tell all about that. But
well,
how did that
yeah,
come about to where you're getting the right silversmiths for the job?
yep. Well, it is quite surreal, like what you say. Like I remember a friend of mine who's a marketing PhD guy, right? He likes to, I said, well, how would you market this? And he goes, oh, what's your value proposition? Well, the best I can sum it up is basically, I really just, I brought back the woolly mammoth, and you can have it as a pet. That's as far as I can describe it.
Right?
And yeah, and you can believe me or not, but that's just basically what I did. And it was through relationships and understanding and taking the time and really investing a lot, which I'll get into that as well. But yeah, I was talking with Mike, and and learning a lot from him, Mike Pardue. And it got to a point that I really wanted him to make me a belt. He goes, well, if I was going to do this, like he gets the same price as you got, everyone else, any other silversmith, you're looking about 15 to 16,000, even $20,000 to do this,
Yeah,
American
let
dollars,
me stop you
because
there. I don't mean
the
to
labor is
interrupt you, but yeah, when I looked at actually getting and a couple other people have in the hobby have actually asked a silversmith, and the quote that I got was 12,500 with a nearly $8,000 deposit up close. But he said the thing that he said to me is, I don't know if it'll be the same until it's complete, but he says it won't be exactly the same because I don't have the technique that that silversmith used, and that was very key of what he said too.
exactly. And that goes back to the belt itself. The original is a masterpiece. We cannot say that anyone can make or replicate the original. You can't,
Mhm.
right? Because it has Victor Ortiz's soul in it, and he was given at the time, and this is from the sources of the research I started to do or getting into contact with. At the time, he was given an unlimited budget,
And for people
in
that don't
rodeo terms.
and for people
Yeah,
that don't
go ahead.
know at home, Victor, he was the silversmith that worked at Crumrine. A lot of people don't understand. They think when they say Crumrine, it was Crumrine that made it. No, Crumrine was the jewelry company, and they have a silversmith that was working there, and that's who you mentioned there.
Exactly, exactly. And I tried to give as much information to explain this in the website. So I took my time to release that, and then I started trickling this information almost 2 to 3 years ago, so that by the time you get to this product, you know, as many people as I can take on the journey to understand what exactly it is. Because otherwise, you know, you have a look at it and so forth. It's quite confronting at times because no one's seen the original 1986 in person in 1986, other than, you know, very, very lucky people who can actually remember and tell me, which, again, when we went to StarCast, the likes of Sting, Jeff Jarrett, Scott Steiner, whoever we can find, can vouch for it. And it's very different, as you've been telling people as well, helping educate that it's not brand new. It's not the 39-year-old belt that's been smashed to pieces on people's heads and things like that, stomped on and things like that. There's another special story Scott Steiner will tell you soon, of the time it was at his house, because he took it. He's the one that it ended up with before Conrad got it, and that's a special story itself. I won't get into that because it's a lot more to go. Anyway, so yeah, it is quite confronting to see something that's brand new, and it answers all the questions. The only way I knew that I was on the right path at the end was actually bring it and look at it with Conrad at StarCast. We'll get into that a bit later too. But anyway, back to your question. So Mike Padu, I was trying to get him to make the belt. He goes and he says, no, that's how much. Like, okay, well, I'll just keep working on what I'm doing. And then one day I might be able to save enough money to do this. And then all of a sudden I started seeing another belt that I think Chris Simmons put up, which is another leather maker from Australia. All this comes from Australia. Can you believe it? On the other side of the world, bringing back an American heritage, you know?
And nobody wants to work over here or do anything right now. So
yeah. And he had a
millennials are in control.
Oh yeah, and I'm not millennial. I'm the Xer, like you.
Yeah,
and yeah, and so Chris Simmons put up a belt that he worked on the leather. It was another engraved belt, you know, and later on in a few years I realized, the Groovy G contacted me and he said, yeah, that's the belt I had made for NWA for the Junior Heavyweight Championship, and NWA sent it back because they weren't interested or didn't really understand what it was. And so I showed Mike this, and he said, well, I can tell who made it by looking at it, because that's the language of silversmithing. They can actually tell who made what by their style and their signatures in how they engrave. So he said, okay, this looks like it came out of, you know, this group of people. And I'm not going to say who, because I don't know, sometimes it's good to keep secrets.
Yep.
But I said, well, can you hook me up? And he goes, yeah, no worries. I'll give you this guy's, he sent me the details of Roberto. So Roberto Ortiz. And straight up, I was like, man, even if this isn't true, I'm going to use that, man. You know, Ortiz, Jesus.
You're like, please be true, please.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh, geez. So I contacted him, sent an email, started talking, and he doesn't engrave himself much, but he knew what I was looking at. But the funny thing is, many years ago, I think around 2015 or so, there was a belt that was called Crumrine 3 that was sold at Belt Talk, four places, the ones giving me the most crap. They sell a Crumrine 3 that was made by Roberto. And it was nowhere near as good as the original. And because he didn't have any context of what we're working on. He didn't even know that, you know, how famous his brother's belt was. And anyway, and even at the time, I didn't even know that was his brother. I knew it. I wanted it to be his brother, but didn't know. And then I gave him all my research, because up until then I've been trying to make these belts, you know, whatever means I can find. And he came back to me and says, oh, well, because artwork and so forth. People try to tell me things about artwork, but I used the artwork that everyone else had originally, and it wasn't right for silversmithing, because artwork for silversmithing is actually drawn by hand. It's none of this digital stuff, right? It's not for etching; it's for drawing and for and making it right. Anyway, and he comes back and he says, "Oh, some of your measurements are a little bit different to mine." I was like, "Okay, no worries. You're a silversmith. Go with yours." And he goes, "Yeah, that's right. I think I will, because I didn't think my brother's measurements were wrong." I was like, "Oh my god, it is."
Yeah. Well, if you had them all along there, brother, yeah, you don't need that question me. You don't need to even
Yeah,
ask me. Just go
that's
for it.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. But there were certain things like
That's
there was that.
pretty humble for a guy to say, "Hey, I didn't, I see what you brought me here and I see what your measurements you're working with, but they're not the measurements that my brother who made the one.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not what he has down on paper." I'm like, "Brother, you could have saved me a whole lot of time if you told me that
yeah,
from the get
yeah,
go."
yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, that's it. And then he introduced me to his sons, Danny, Paul, and things like that. And I said, well, this is my dream to do this, to honor your family, particularly. I noticed when I read the book or so forth. Well, I sent them all a copy of the book. They never even had the book. They never even
What?
seen the book or knew. No,
Really?
for all these years, 30 or so years plus, they had no idea. Had
I
no
still meet
no idea.
people in the I would have thought that they would have been the first ones to get it. I thought that, I forget the author's name, but I thought he would have been the first one to send them a copy so that they get it. But there's still people in the hobby that are surprised when, that still don't know about that book. I mean, we talked to them quite a bit when doing some certain podcasts or questions on some of these Facebook pages that they don't realize that book exists.
Yep,
But it sure does. But I'm surprised that they had never seen it. What was their reaction when they got the book?
they were very, very honored, very proud
Yeah, it's
of
gotta
their
be a
uncle.
very
You
proud
know,
moment, I would think.
very proud moment. Yes, yes, and you can see the approach. It's not for money or business. It's because I care about this. I care about them. Um, Part of this was at the time this was happening. I had to put my father in a home, uh,
Mm.
and uh, and he was a businessman as well, and he saw what I was doing, and he wanted to basically give me his last. Well, nowhere near as Tony Khan's, only a few $1,000s, but that was the last bit of investment money he had. So I said, okay, from here on, I got to make this right. I got to do the right business by their family, by my family, and so forth. And so I talked. So I said, I don't care how much it takes or how long it takes, how many belts we've got to chew through. You know, let's make this. Let's make the. Let's recreate your brother's belt. Not a replica. We're going to recreate it. And he had to actually reinvent his style because it was lost. So Roberto started doing a lot of work with himself, drawing and so forth, things like that. The arrangements, the engraving, the different styles, as you say, a scoop. There's an infinite amount of techniques in here because this was Victor's showpiece. This was to show his skill to the world.
Right.
And look how famous it is. Look how
It
39 years.
does his family realize how what I shouldn't say cult following, but just a following, and how famous this belt is and what it means to a lot of people in their childhood and what it means to try to own one the closest they can get to it. Do they realize how famous that belt is and what it means to a whole lot of people, not including Ric Flair himself?
They had no idea until I told them, until I showed them everything, until I gave them the book, explained explained what a great honor it is to work with them. To basically, I laid the foundations because in the past, they'd work like when Roberto was younger and actually engraved more and things, which he doesn't do that. We actually trained a new team under his guidance. That's why we're talking. He's the head engineer. His sons and so forth work with me, and we train a new team with young steady hands to do this, but under very strict guidance and training. Because basically, I've got a team of, so as you say, saddlery, leather, buckles. We take a buckle, a couple of buckle makers off the line, and we train them up in this. And it's like, wow, this is the biggest buckle ever made. But no, they had no idea.
That's a pretty big scale. Yeah, and rodeo belts are pretty big themselves. So I imagine this
Yeah.
is a pretty big step up from something like that. So you've
Yeah.
you've got all of that part set up. How did it come about to where and we'll get into everything of what it's made of. And we'll talk about the leather and what goes into it, and you've even got it down to the right stitching and the right double saddle leather. But I worked about that process of how you figured out who you wanted to do the leather and how that worked out and how you guys came together. How did
No
that was
worries.
probably the next step is to put it on the right
Yeah.
leather once you have the right plates.
Yep, that's right. Well, I'll just take one half step back, just to explain a little bit more.
Sure.
It's just So basically, when I explained about the belt and the impact it had on the world and so forth, and basically his brother created pretty much one of the most famous belts in the world. I also asked about who is Victor survived by, because we want to honor them and honor you guys. And he goes, well, then he told me the story about how they were trained. They learned. Victor had taught Roberto and the three brothers and so forth the family art. And I said, well, the first thing we do is the first belt we make, I'm giving it back to you. I give it back to them as for honor of for honor of the family and thanks. So I did that, and then from then onwards, all right, I'll start something called C4 authentic belts and so forth with them in mind, and actually and made the whole business together. So you can see how we cut the cost. Well, the cost part is more about, all right, a normal silversmith will do this for you for $12,000 and whatever plus, right? And it won't be the same. It won't be anything the same. But to
Yeah, and it's more
give,
expensive because he's making only one, so he's gotta make his big pot right there of what they charge and what they do. So, I would
yeah,
imagine the more you make in any type of production or any type of thing you make, the more you can make, the more you can cut down, cost and percentages of who gets what.
yeah. Well, the other thing is there's no middleman. It's everyone. It's only me, my team. Everyone does something. So there's no cuts and things like that. That's why I get trolls and things, because I really just want to bring this to the public, so they can celebrate and give a future to the art. So the key was not necessarily go there and say, oh, talk about dollars and cents. It was about, okay, rather than a short-term cut and run thing where I get you to make one belt and I'm going to rip you off, I want to make it so that you can make belts well into the future, and
Right.
and and I'm not interested in any kind of profit and so forth, other than just to keep the business running and keep it forward, because I've got a day job as well. I'm quite successful already, but at the same time, this means so much more. It means about my father, it means about my two brothers that passed away, it means about Roberto's brother, because this is our way of bringing back something that was there when these people were still alive. This is echoes of Victor's work. There was echoes of my dad's investment, and the brother that passed away. I lost two in 10 months. The first one was he was the only person that understood what I was doing, and didn't question me and supported me. And then the third one just recently. So it's like, when I look back at these, and even Roberto and so forth, it's like, their legacy lives on a little bit. It's not just looking at something 35, 39 years ago. I was looking at, okay, you can make more and more and more, and everyone can see it and hold it and have a piece of this what we of the people we loved, what we do love. So that's the reason for it all, and hence it's on a bit of a left field. Yeah. Then the leather. Yeah. Talk about the leather side of things. I was originally I brought it back into Australia because I realised that, well, we kind of can make the best leather in the world. Like it's funny about Australia. We got all the cows and so forth, but we don't have many tanneries, and but it's still our cows. So we send that over to overseas, get tanned, and it comes back to us. And I was like, well, horses, rodeo, and so forth. That's a very big thing. That's also a part of the range. What appealed to Roberto is that there's also another market of rodeo belts and so forth we can bring into Australia if we do this, and if I marry it up with the saddle industry, which made the original belt, which is Harris leather. I can do the same, and I can do the same and more. And also at the same time, I can bring pride back into where I live, because it's really crossing over from, wrestling belts, more mainstream sort of stuff, to saddlery, to rodeo, to silversmithing. We're basically making a whole kind of a new market, bringing it all into, into something pretty cool. So I was like, wow, that momentum happened. But that's a funny story in itself. We've got time for that. Oh, geez. It sounds like there's a master plan, but maybe news from God or so forth. But when I was researching saddle makers and things, and asking people to do this, I was getting good advice, but I didn't have any real connections until my wife told me to contact Sam Larusso. And why I said why she asked me for that particular person is because he was one of the dads at my kindergarten. Like it's kindergarten. It was like, okay, sure, and
network.
Yeah. So kindergarten for all places. So I hit it. I called his wife first and said, can you please talk to Sam and so forth. Then he put me through to Sam. And Sam is one of the most generous people, I've ever seen. You see pictures. You probably saw on Facebook. I put the amazing Sam, Sam Larusso, and you see him tracing the plate. Yeah. So we go about this a lot differently as well. It's not. It's everything's precision made. So basically, there's two parts of leather making. One is the factory, which we bring the leather in and so forth. We source the best leather and so forth. But we've got all kinds of machines, all because of Sam. Giant presses that people would just believe, dream to have. And then we've got another connection is a press knife maker. So it's something out of like the Middle Ages. It's like an iron knives and things that make the perfect cut, and so forth. And all that came from Sam. And then he put me in touch with, and he didn't even charge me. He only charged me for materials. Oh, well, I bought the materials. But whatever I use, even the military snaps, he actually has a very renowned leather company that looks after the military, looks after the postal service, all kinds of things, workwear and things like that. And so I get the best parts and the best help and advice through Sam. So I do the work in there as well. I cut the leather, I glue it and so forth, presses, all that sort of stuff. But without Sam, nothing's possible. And then he put me on to Mel. So originally I had some good advice from a lady in Kilmore. She's called the leather, so the saddle mechanic. But it was good. I would have early days I would have gone with her, but I didn't have those connections like or I wouldn't be able to achieve anything much more than I have with Sam. So then he put me onto a guy named Melbourne. So it's funny, man. Melbourne from Melbourne. You believe that?
That's
So
pretty good.
he's Mel with the white hair. He'll pop his head in a minute. This is his saddlery. So we get the leather processed, or cut and glued and so forth, and press cut at the factory.
Hmm.
And then I source a Mel to do the finishing and the fitting. So all that nice, beautiful work you see across here, that's from
Hmm.
some do it the staining, and the beveling is done from Julie. She works in there. And then Mel sews it, puts it together, all that sort of stuff. To see what you see there. And this is another funny thing is when I went and met Sam, we shared contacts and so forth, and I saw a profile picture of him kicking a bag, kicking kickboxing.
Hmm.
All right, and it's like, wow, I didn't know you did martial arts. And he goes, yeah. It's like, but you're a saddle maker. And it's like, yeah, well, people have different lives. It's like, okay, cool. And it's like, well, I did martial arts. I do hardcore kung fu for since '94. And I was like, yeah, that's what. He goes, oh, that's great because he does it. And it's like, wow. And then all of a sudden I realized. Then I talked to Sam, and Sam did martial arts too in the early days. So we're basically joined together by kung fu. You believe of all those things? So kindergarten, kung fu, saddlery, leather, silversmith. Yeah, so you can't write this stuff. It's pretty funny.
Well,
But,
let's go into what this belt is made of, and the finer things, your gold, your leather, all those things that all those people out there have the questions for. We're going to take some questions from the audience in just a minute, but start with the plates and tell us about the plates, and then your leather, and give us all the details of this beautiful belt.
all right, no worries. Well, luckily I've got all the components here, isn't it? That was just for show, but now I have to show you. Okay, so yeah, so first of all, it's got nothing to do. Like it's a totally different world than what we're used to in terms of belt making, because that's why there was only one big gold belt, right? So it's not zinc, it's not electro, it's not CNC'd or etched, chemically etched. It's basically the material is German silver.
Hmm.
So German silver is made. I know a lot of people are excited with German silver, and they should be, right? But there is a difference between German silver and sterling 295.
Right.
Okay, but German silver was actually made by silversmiths, and is the same material as all the rodeo buckles. The
Hmm.
high-end rodeo buckles are German silver, heavier electroplated with 24 karat gold, and Crumrine have mastered the art of silver plating with real silver. So, with consultation and so forth, things like that, we're able to, use these techniques. Okay. So, again, it's totally left field. It's totally different to what you're used to if you're making an etch belt, like a winged eagle or something you see out of Pakistan. You know, if you talk about thickness, it is heavy. There's the density of the material, right? But you can't go more than 2 to 3 inches. Although, so mils, right? Because why? Think about in the day how expensive is a piece of silver this big? You know, it's not a
Very.
piece of zinc. That's right. So we're not making a hubcap. We're making a piece of jewelry,
Right.
right? So
And then once
and
it's on
then
leather, you're at your belt weight. The C4 weighs 8.75. Is that what it was?
that's right, exactly the same as the original.
There
See,
you go.
people that the only way to make it weigh like the original is to bloody remake the original. Right, that's what we did.
And then your border there, you can talk about that on the plate.
Yep. So the border, the rope border, is something that's it's. I'll give you the story. Like in the early days, like when you see like I don't want to mention, but one of those Pakistani belts, or even the early Groovy G belts and things like that. There was a reason why you put the rope border on top of the plate, right? So it's not like the edges; it's on top, because in the old days, or even now, when you don't have much silver, you put it on top of the plates to make it look like it's thicker. Say, oh, I got a thicker piece, Whereas when you have 13 inches of silver, you don't need to put it on top of the plate, right? So this is Victor's idea, Victor Ortiz's idea, to put it around the edges, right? Why is because it's to show off how much silver he had. It's like, wow, look at how much I've got. It's basically the original bling statement, right? So, yeah. And if you say Ric Flair was the inventor of bling or swag, this is actually historically, the original of this is the original bling piece. This basically, that's why it's such a cult following. That's why it's so historic, because when you talk about bling, when it first became bling, you're looking at right there, right?
And his whole persona took off in 1986. Once he got that belt and it started being about the Rolex and that belt, you really saw it just take off, because even when you hold this belt, I mean, you hold mine, it just brings an empowerment of, yeah, look at this right here.
And he's 100% right. And the other funny thing is, this is kind of the only belt that the women approve of.
Yeah.
You believe that? Yeah, because it's a piece of jewelry. It's not, oh, did you win it? It's like, no, oh, that's shiny. So we're at Starcast. The women would walk past the original and go straight to this. Yeah, so that was pretty cool, I would say. Anyway, so let's go through some of the details, huh? So that's the rope border, and again, you'll notice something here. This is called the wriggle, right? So what the wriggle means is it's actually a signature of the skill of the silversmith. Okay, so see how perfect and beautiful it is, and how thin it is. Right, says how is a statement of what the skill of the silversmith actually is. Okay, so when you see these, I don't know, when I did the research and so forth and messing around with Pakistan belts and things, this was always as an afterthought. And you look at it, it's a kind of a monstrosity, right? Because it was just they make whatever they did and then they weld this on like an afterthought. I can't say too much, but that's why I didn't want anything to do with it. With these, how you do it is, these elements actually go on first. So that's how you know it's really properly handmade, because then you do that. These scrolls and things, people keep talking about artwork. Are you really talking about art itself? Because the art of this has to be hand drawn, right? It's an artist with a grey lead drawing this on, okay, and then using it to engrave with, okay. These skills, as you can see, it's a 3D type of skill. That it's not something done out of a computer. It's 50 years of experience to be able to get that kind of that look right, and actually it was invented by their family. So
right.
That's how that was made there. The conchos, again, all these welded pieces have to go on first, and then then they work there. So it all fits. It's all everything has to match what the art is, what the skill is. So as you can see, the wriggle, the rope, the conchos, everything has to make logical, artistic sense and follow the rules of the technique. This part here, so a lot of shortcuts outside, CNC, whatever you want to call it, oh, let's CNC this, it's not going to work. This is done by hand. The skill of a silversmith is to make sure, is to show how many words you can get out of one piece of metal, unbroken metal, right? And then when you put this on here, and there's a brazing effort as well, you can't show that there's a join. So all these letters join, but you don't know. It's expert texturing and blending to make it seamless and beautiful, you see. And then I know it's hard to show you on film and camera and photos and things, but when you hold it in person, you can actually see what this is. It's actually, it's beveled and textured and raised, the inside of the letter itself. Okay. I also did a full forensics when I was at StarCast, and thank God it was. I was fully vindicated because how we did it was exactly the same as the original. And there's a lot of camera angles, and as I move, look, oh, it's right, oh, it's wrong, it's right, it's wrong. It was right. So yeah, so that's how we did that. Even the globe and so forth. So a lot of these things that the say the I'll say Crumro themselves don't have these anymore. No, it was actually we had to reinvent the family art to recreate these pieces and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other things, right? So there's that, and you can see how beautiful the back is.
Oh wow!
There's a special engraving. Yeah, special engraving.
Yeah, I'm not I don't even want to take mine off the left. I'm not even gonna. I don't even want to sometimes touch it.
Yeah. All right. This leads to another one. Is that you can tell me the shape's right or wrong, but once you turn it around, it's identical. Well, doesn't really matter. And the other good thing is, again, these are individual pieces. If you can't replicate this, you can only recreate it. And that's the beauty of it. No one else has anything like yours. Okay, although it's standardized, so we can repeat and so forth, but the execution and so forth, it's very special. It's yours. It has its own life. Anyway, but the back of it, this is interesting because we started posting this when we posted the back of this plate.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what got Conrad's attention. The back of the plate. Because up until then he started seeing pictures that because as you read the blurb at the page, it says like welcome aboard. We just wanted to show you what we're up to basically, and take you on a ride with us.
Mm-hmm.
And then Conrad joined when I was up to my second or third prototype. I made about 5 prototypes before I released them to the public, and that's another unfair thing because some of the guys, I guess the trolls or whatever they want to be, they stole some of my pictures from the old prototype number 3 or 4. I haven't finished, and then they start telling me it's inaccurate. So, good luck. But anyone who's in the page themselves, you've got the up-to-date information. You've got the real information, and I wanted that way. I kept the group small so that I can give you all the everything, and I can and it's special. I'm not selling I'm not selling my soul to everybody. I'm just sharing it. And anyway, so that's where I'm at. What's the other one? So Conrad, yeah, he made a comment and was like, "Wow, I felt like $1 million when I saw his very
Let's not we'll spoil that for people that don't know yet. Let's get to stay on this one first because we'll show that
Yeah.
video of him actually seeing that. We'll share that here
Yeah.
in just a
Oh,
little bit.
that's going
But
to the end, but
yep.
the early stages about this shape in the
Can
back.
you read for folks what's on the plate there? Or are you
I'd
gonna
like
let
to.
that be to share for the ones who actually own it?
Yeah, I was going to say that, but yeah. But I'll give you a clue, right? On the website,
Mhm.
all right, I've told the story, so read that story,
There you
okay?
go.
And on the back here is proof of the truth to that story.
Gotcha. Now,
Okay?
when it comes to the leather part, when you talk about the leather, that stitching, and let's go over the leather a little bit, and I'll put on a picture here of showing the leather there, and you'll show it there as well.
There's a whole bunch of leathers there, as you can see.
Uh-huh.
So it's quite legit. Look at all my tools, nice tools, leather cutting tools. Then to the belt itself. And here, if I take this, actually, I might.
Uh-oh. Let's hopefully we didn't
There we go.
lose him.
There
There he
you
is.
go.
He's moving around,
There
I
I am.
think. All right,
Yep.
good, 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 good.
VIP access. So what you see is our saddlery.
This is where the beautiful smell comes from.
Yes, the leather. Not Mel, but the leather. Hello. Can you see Mel? Here's
Yes, yes,
Mel.
yes, yes. We see him. We see him. We see him.
Well,
Hello,
Mel,
hello, hello.
welcome.
Your
Mel's
work is
our world-class
immaculate,
saddle.
and everybody's flaunting it over here in America. We're loving it.
Thank you very much. That's very kind. Thank you.
And yeah, no, we Kung Fu brothers, and Mel's, geez, what, 30, 40 years making
Yeah,
saddles?
40 years.
40 years making saddles.
Yep.
And I've actually
Wow.
seen one of his 40-year-old saddles is just as beautiful as when he made it.
I started very young. I'm not that old.
Yeah. So back in the old days, slave labor wasn't,
That's right.
you know,
Child labor.
child labor wasn't the issue. Okay. And yeah, and yeah. So can you maybe step us through a little bit on how you put the stitching on and so forth, and some of the process?
Yes.
We won't disclose all our secrets, obviously.
Yeah. Let's not. Don't let me go black screen on y'all. Don't
The
share all the
first
secrets.
stage is, the first stage after they've been laminated and cut, so the two layers stuck together and cut, is to take the sharp edges off the leather, which is
Yep.
done with an edging tool, surprisingly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is the edging tool. It's very sharp. So basically, it just takes this sharp edge off the leather. So it gives it a slightly rounded edge.
Wow. And you're working with Sedgwick's leather there.
And this is Cedric's leather.
Geez, that's around about $300-400 per square meter.
So that's the rounded edge.
That's some
Then
expensive leather right there.
Yep. Then it's the edge is then stained and sealed with a secret recipe dye, which is basically a dye with a sealer in it,
Oh wow.
a water-based dye.
Yeah.
And that's polished
Yep.
by hand.
Wow, look at that.
Oh, look at that.
Some elbow grease.
That gives you those beautiful, smooth, burnished edges.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can see that. The edge comes up pretty shiny.
Oh wow.
Nice.
And then after that, we wax it and burnish it on a machine as well. So it's got beeswax. We put beeswax on the edge and burnish it on a finishing machine. Then we run a crease line around it. Normally we do this hot, but I'm just doing this one cold. That's just basically a decorative line.
Oh wow. Look at that.
Nice.
So it's, I don't know
Look
if you
at
can see
that.
that.
Yeah, we can see that. That is amazing.
So that just gives you that traditional kind of saddle or belt finish.
In the magic.
Then we use this clunky old machine over here.
Yep. We can't tell you the settings. We can't tell you much, but we can show you what it looks like.
It's about the thread.
Yep. There's the thread. That's the very high end thread we're using.
Yep.
It's tiger thread.
Tiger thread. It's a braided thread, super strong. Sits beautifully flat in the stitch.
Made for competitive saddles.
And then this is the machine. This isn't set up to do the belt, but it's a big walking foot machine. I'll just show you a little bit. It runs very slowly for accuracy. Basically, it just runs a couple of times. That's top speed.
Oh wow.
So, but that's not set up for the belt, but that's the way it's done.
Just show them the front and the back of it. Yeah. Yes. So even that's a lot of skill involved. As you can see. Yep.
There we go. Now we can see it. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But the tiger thread is a much nicer flat, and we use a special foot that forms a groove for the stitch to sit in. As the machine is stitching, it forms a groove for the machine to stitch, kind of recessed into the leather.
Wow, just a lot of hand care and a lot of technique into that.
Yeah. And then afterwards, we have to mark plates out. We mark the positioning of the plates out on the curve, so that they sit on the belt on the leather as it's curved, not flat. And that's a bit of a process. Then we screw them all on.
Special screws.
Yeah, special Chicago screws. Yep. All the way from Chicago.
And then you make Colin pay you $15,000 per belt, right?
Oh, at least that's just the deposit.
Well, there's your work. Here's part of your work all the way over here in the United States.
Oh gosh, look at that collection! Wow, that's amazing.
I'm on the coast of North Carolina, so it's all the way over here.
Wow.
And it's I don't know if you know a lot about belt making, but Reggie Parks was the king of wrestling belt makes, and I believe that this belt surpasses it in quality and care and make. So I love this belt, absolutely do. And thank you for showing us a little bit of your technique and your time. But all these people over here are completely flabbergasted by your expertise, your craftsmanship, and we really do appreciate it.
Oh, it's a team effort. I mean, Colin's the conductor, but he conducts the band. But it's definitely a team effort with Sam.
There's no band without without the bandmates. I mean, he can conduct it, but without the skill, there's no sound, right?
Lovely to meet you. Thanks very much.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. We so much appreciate it.
See you. Bye.
Fantastic. Well, that's
awesome.
Yeah. That's good old that's Mel.
So you were telling us that the saddle's double saddle leather, so it's double. It's not just one piece; it's two pieces sewn together.
Exactly. I'll show you this actually. See, that part of it is actually done in the leather factory. So I moved from leather factory to saddlery, And I'll show you that in a sec. There you go.
There you go.
So this is the part I do quite a lot of. Sourcing getting the leather, cutting it, get the normal cut, and then press cutting it, gluing it. So as you can see, see that?
Oh well.
You see mine? Yeah. So that's two pieces of.
That's one.
Yeah, you see that little line in the middle?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's two pieces of saddlery leather. Okay. Right. So what do you say? Yeah. So it's quite, a lot of people can't follow this because it's quite wasteful, But if we're making the best, even Roberto told me, it's like, look, other people want to go for cheap things. You're the one crazy
Right.
bastard for the most expensive things, and
Right.
I guess.
Well, people want
So
to pay. People want to pay the least, but then complain the most about what they cheaply paid for. That's always the case with these belts. Is folks will pay, less and not understand. It's true with whatever you're collecting or whatever you're buying that you get what you pay for. But when it
Yeah.
comes to a belt that's being handmade by a silversmith the exact same way as they did it in 1986 for Ric Flair, I can't believe that it's being replicated today. And there's a stamp on the center of that leather as well on the back when it's done, the maker stamp. Um,
I had those made as
as
well.
well.
Actually, I've got two stamps. One, and this will go later on into when we talk about what's coming. But two, one that says made by Roberto Ortiz, exclusive for C4, and that's what you have, and people will buy it have. And then if you like, and then I was going to say, and then there's one for when we actually put these belts out for competition. So I'll tell you a bit more about that later at the end. But there's another stamp. It says C4 official championship, and that's well, sooner or later when we get to that part, that signifies that this belt will be used for competition.
Right.
All right. Yeah. Yep. What else?
And then we're going to talk about exactly when you get it. I'm going to put up here on the screen here. You will see how you get the belt. We didn't talk about that just a little bit before we show the video with Conrad. When you get your belt, you are getting it in an immaculate setup. And let me show you here the case that you get it in. I believe he has one there as well, but I'm gonna show the picture right here. And he has one there. You can see here. This is the case that you get it in. When you get it, it'll arrive in this case with C4 authentic belts on there, and it says established in 2021. And when you open up that belt, you will see this inside there. It'll be in a double velvet bag. Reggie's was just the outside was velvet. The inside was not all the way velvet in his, but yours is double velvet, so it's velvet not only inside but outside to keep that belt safe. It'll be in that padded case when you get it. And let me tell you something: when you open up this case, the leather hits you like a double drop kick. It is just an amazing and wonderful smell. From people that collect belts, they know about the smell of leather. They love that smell of the leather. Your leather will break in; it'll be stiff a little bit, but that's made to be that way. And then once your oils and your hands and things like that start to hold it, it will easily start to loosen up. But this is what you'll get your belt in. Did you want to add
Yeah.
anything to that part there?
Yeah. The special feature about the leather is it's real celery leather. It's even moldable leather, so you can even we use that in industry for bridles, saddles, but also molding. So let's say if you had a knife and you want to make a cover for that molds to the knife, in the leather factory you can actually, that's the leather that can mold. So you press it and it molds it in shape.
Right.
So it's got a lot of properties in it because it's the real thing. We're not it's finished as well. So we're not trying to dye things. We're making it. It's perfect from the manufacturer, and that's what you want. Whereas, other ways to do it, you get really cheap leather, or you get whatever leather it is. It's cheap, but you dye it, and it's always a mismatch of different qualities because it's like a kid with dye and mixing it, whereas this is specially sourced, premium paid to come perfect. It has to be perfect. It has to be minimally handled as well. So as you noticed, I don't actually fold it. I never fold it until I put it in the bag and ship it to the customer.
Yeah, it's not really a fold either, folks. It curves in. It's not really a fold. There's no full pleated crease in it like you get from Pakistan belts.
Yeah,
But
right.
once you do with it what you want with your belt. If you wanted it flat and you want it once you have it, you can do whatever. But it will become extremely yours, and it takes on a whole new. And the thing with leather, a lot of people don't, especially saddle leather. The more you wear it in, they will all wear differently. They will all wear to a certain color and a certain tinge, depending on what oils you touch it with and your hands. They take on their characteristics, just like a leather wallet. You'll see the color changing. I mean, that takes years and years down the road, but depending on how you handle it, what you're doing it with. I mean, if you're an organization and you take this belt and you use it in the ring, you're going to have that aspect of changing, and it's going to give it character, just like every one of those that you talked about. Nobody's going to get the same belt. There's going to be some slightly different curve this way or that way. Many people can't tell with the naked eye, but each one of these are handmade, and you're getting something that's for you and nobody else. But with the way you're making this is just amazing. You should be celebrated for what you've done for this hobby. You have elevated this hobby and taken it to a new level with what you've done. And I'm proud to know you and to own one of these. They're amazing. The thing that I wanted to show here is you really can't take the word of it. You had your event debut or your belt debut at StarCast, and that was in Chicago, correct?
Yep, that's right. So I was
And,
getting into that story early on. So there's a little bit more to that.
yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Well, go
but
ahead
more
and tell us how that came about, and your invite to there. I mean, we're a little over an hour now, so we don't want to take too
okay.
much more time, but we got about another 15, 20 minutes for folks. But tell
Yeah,
us how the invite came from Conrad to come over to StarCast and your table set up.
yeah. Well, it's a lot more than just an invite. What it is Conrad. So when Conrad he joined when I was making, you know, prototype 2 or 3, before I even released the one that went out on sale, and particularly when he saw the back of this plate, and he's like, wow, because up until then I was just showing comparisons between what pictures I can find in the book or Twitter. There was Conrad's pictures of the original, and I was showing him how we're following it or matching it or recreating it. And he pressed liked. He came and pressed liked, and he said, wow, send a brother a belt. And it's like, oh, so something like that along those lines. And I said, okay, sure.
No problem. You got money
yeah,
poking out
well,
of you. No problem.
yeah, that's right. That's right. And I talked to him on Messenger, like I talked to all you guys. And he said, well, yeah, originally I was just seeing pictures of my pictures, of my belt out there. And then when I looked down further and saw what you're doing, I was like, wow, this is amazing. He's like, yeah, that's right. And then luckily I had an idea in my head, or my main goal. It's not necessarily to make these belts for sale and be a belt business totally. It was more I wanted to make these, bring back the real big gold. I wanted to make it competable. And I floated the idea with him. I said, look, you can see what I'm doing. I'm recreating the original big gold that you have. And if we were to do this, why don't we make it so that you can compete? You can compete for it. If we're going to make it, bring it, well, it should be competed for, right? And he said, that's a great. And I sent him some pretty cool pictures and ideas and run through of how all this should relate and things like that. Because at the end of the day, we're all belt fans, and that's what he said too. We're all belt hobbyists, but this would be really cool to bring it back and make it real. That's why the company is called Authentic as well, because we want to be authentic as much as possible and turn back the time. And he said, "Yep, I'm in. This year we're doing Starcast and so forth. I'd love to have you there and so forth." And I just kept him in touch. And then we're working on something that between himself, myself, Cam, OPW, that's the Australian Starcast organisers, and the wrestling promotions here, is to be able to have this belt being competed for that's readily available for anyone outside of the WWE, compete to show who's the real best. No, that was my dream. That's my dream to you remember when we called this the Real World's Championship?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to make the Real World's Champion.
Bobby Heenan, when you came over to WWF, yeah, this is the belt of the Real World's Champion. Gorilla Monsoon was interviewing him. I think he was with that Jim Anvil Neidhart. Who's that belt? Yeah, I know that belt. Yeah, this is the belt of the Real World Champion. Yep.
So we want that. I want that. And for the first time, and then it started catching fire. And I talked with Cam and so forth, and the idea for this day and age, the women are just as good as the men in terms of wrestling. I watch the same, I guess. Let's make, we never had one for a women's Real World Champion, and hence the idea came to make something that would fit a woman, which was 27-inch waist.
Yeah, you made a woman's version too. Yep.
Yeah,
that was Dave there. Mm-hmm.
That's right. And the reason for that, and the other one is, I always loved Sherry Martel, and I thought if there's a female equivalent to Ric Flair, it must be Sherry Martel, right? And because heel, face, just you think about her, it's just nothing but love, now that we think about it. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, she should be great, should be honor her. And all of a sudden, I made the belt, I put it up, and Jerry Gonzalez contacted me, which is her son, Sherry Martel's son. And I was so honored to hear from him. And I wanted to be able to honor her and his family through doing this. So I'm working on that and so forth. But that's the real aim. I want to, as a wrestling fan and so forth, we always wanted, I always dreamed to affect wrestling and so forth itself, rather than just make a belt, just a fanboy stuff. But I wanted to make an impact in the greater wrestling world and help improve it, because everyone says, wouldn't you like to know who's the really, really best, that's outside WWE? And who knows, in the future there might, who knows what will happen if there's ever a crossover. But that's wishful thinking, but let's do whatever we can. So so we're in kind of a planning phase or working phase, and hence that's why I was invited to display my belt next to the big gold to show that this is a real thing. It's not a replica. It's actually a real thing. There are plans for it. Hence you see top secret at the bottom of some of these posts, of these photos. It says top secret because we've got plans. And and that's Oh, it's kind of the like the end game, but the beginning of where we want to go. It's more, being part of this is more than just being than just collecting a belt. So forth. What you're holding there is a part of history itself, and it's actually a part of the future as well. So hence, that's where we are. Okay, and then over to that's Starcast was really the start of it, just the start of the launch, right? And then there's also Starcast Down Under as well, which I'm very much part of that with Cam Vale from OPW. As you can see in the press release, there's Cam, there's Mickey James, there's now Bret Hart. Oh my God, and all the other and many other legends joining this. And it's the same reaction as you had, Kevin, when they opened up the belt. Yeah, and and the people who held the belt, there's nothing but memories and fondness that come back, and that's that means a lot. That's really heartwarming to see and really encouraging.
Right. So let's show that video to folks that have not seen it. This is when Conrad debuted the belt, unveiled it out at Starcast in Chicago, and I want to for folks to take note of what this gentleman here had to say about it, because it's very interesting. Here you go.
Yes, that's what it's there for.
Wow, man, this is awesome. And you nailed this. How long does it take you to make one of these?
Around about 6 to 8 weeks.
Dude, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's solid. About 4 weeks of
man,
engraving.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. We
Man, that's really impressive.
yeah. This is truly a family thing, Conrad affair, because we worked with Victor Ortiz's brother, the original
Oh, wow.
maker.
Okay.
So so
The real creator.
yes. So that's how they're able to do this, and that's the only
Dude,
reason.
that's amazing.
Yep.
Super cool.
And we have something for the future as well, which is the very next one, which is when you open it, you'll see what it is. Yep.
Personal collection, Conrad?
How about this? Oh, wow, man. That's fantastic. What a cool job on the nameplate y'all did.
Yep. It's
So
actually
what's the difference?
That's the woman's one. It's we made the curve to fit a 27-inch waist and the leather as well.
Is it the same size?
Yep. It doesn't need to change size, Conrad.
Just the leather.
Needs to fit.
Yes. And
Yes.
the curve.
Yes.
That's awesome, man. Man, that's spectacular. What a name you chose, too. Sherry Martel. My goodness.
Yep. Thank you.
Well, this is the best big gold I've seen, man. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I thought there were some great ones out there, but man, that takes the cake. That's really special. You should be proud of that.
Thank
So what do
you.
you think? See them side by side?
Let's have a look. Side by side with the god of belts himself.
Pretty crazy, huh?
Amazing. Wow. Wow.
It's interesting to think.
Yeah,
1986, 2001.
that's right.
Like
2001.
a before and after.
Yep. We went through 5 belts to get this far. So
You nailed it.
2002, 2003, we nailed it.
Oh, for sure. Thanks for making a long trip over, man.
So there it is. Everybody was able to hear the audio, right?
Yeah, it just repeated a few times, but I guess though the choice words that Conrad said.
No, but everybody heard the beginning video, correct? I think that was right. Everybody heard that. I mean, the audio played all the way through is what I was asking. You heard it, right?
Yeah, I
Okay.
heard it.
Well, just wanted everybody to hear it one more time. What he said. Listen carefully.
Wow, man, this is awesome. And you nailed this.
There you go. There you go. You nailed this. So that's exactly what you've done. Is you've nailed something that many people have wanted to do. Now, before we get off here, there's a couple of comments from folks. You guys that are Facebook users, if you'll go on StreamYard and give it permission, it'll show up who you are. There's a couple of folks saying hello.
Yeah, no, big thank you. All the C4 members, Worldwide Belts, Belt Masters.
There's a question: how long is the wait from start to finish?
I would say 4 months. 4 months, and depending on schedule and how ready you for it, I can move you forward as well. So, yeah, just be careful Christmas time with the Australia Post and so forth. There are cutoff dates, so I think mid December is probably my cutoff date to send the belts out. But yeah, it's a lot quicker than the normal. The normal processes. The reason being is we have everything in house. We don't take too many orders. We take enough to do comfortably and send out.
Pierce says, "Colin, you sound like a fairly Aussie mate."
Yeah, Mozzie.
Crikey!
Look
Look
at
at
the-
that's a big one. Crikey!
Oh, jeez. My
Who
goodness.
was the guy that from the zoos did the zoos? The that was killed. What was his name?
Yes.
I always enjoyed
Yes,
listening. To him.
Mark Irwin. Mark Irwin. But they put it on thick for you guys to enjoy. But the funny thing is, when I was in Chicago, my accent came across a lot thicker too. I think it's just a contrast.
Irwin, yeah. Catch 3 podcasts, seeing you guys. All right, great. Okay. Yeah, this is going to be posted on his YouTube. This went out to Wide World of Belts, Love Those Wrestling Belts, and C4. This is where it was shown tonight. People will be able to rewatch this. Colin, if people want to get in contact with you, besides joining C4 Authentic Belts, if you'll join that Facebook group, that's where he's at. He constantly posts on the page all the time, and you'll see that stuff. But if you wanted people to reach out to you, how can they?
Yeah, well, the website's up and running. I re-released that, and
Yep,
on the
that's
website
down here in the
is-
banner. If you'll see the banner down there, it's that's
thanks.
where you'll go.
And if you click contact us or chat, that goes directly to me. So you can chat with me on WhatsApp. That's a lot easier. But also, if you'd like to, contact me through Facebook or Instagram, you just click on any of those handles that are on that website, and they'll take you right there.
Gotcha. That's where you'll go to get all the information, the order information. Like I said, Colin said if he needed to get it quicker to you, just contact him. He'll work with you in getting whatever it is that you need, and any questions that you need. Just join the group. The group has, there is tons of. Colin's always posting. Colin's always posting pictures. It's immaculate to go through the pictures. So I tell you, go over to C4, and you can tell I'm starting to feel crappy. But if you go over to C4, you'll be able to see all these pictures. All the videos are there. It's a great group of people over there. Don't bring your negativity. Don't bring your stuff. There's a lot of great belts out there. This just takes it to a different level. If you want something that is authentic as you can get, made the exact same way, I'm telling you, when I open this belt, I take it over any Reggie Winged Eagle that I have. I take it over in a heartbeat. That's how much I love this belt. I'm honored to own one. Colin, is there anything that you wanted to add?
Yeah, well, the key for me is if you love and understand what I do, not many people, not all people, it's not made for everyone, but if you love it, then I'll always work with you to one day or to get that in your hands. This belt and so forth means more to me than just profits and things like that, what people think about. It's actually quite a personal endeavor. And if you share that kind of passion and so forth, there's always some things that we can work to do to make, like payment plans or circumstances, payment plans or circumstances, things like that. We can always work around. It's about it's about a shared passion. If you love excellence, if you love art, if you appreciate history, and and having something unique, we can always be friends. We can always be close. That's why we made the page and the group, and that's how we make relationships and things, dreams happen. Like with yourself, David, and all these other people that come along. We all have a shared focus and a shared respect.
He called me David. Dav's my nickname. It's part of my last name, Davenport. So
David,
that's
David,
Dav.
Kevin Davenport. I know you have an alias.
Yeah, I have to keep it under wraps. I got
Yeah.
I'm wanted over there in Australia. That's why I can't come and visit you. So
That's all right.
But
We'll
we thank for all that you did, and I know this was tough getting up. And people understand. And Colin always will reply to you guys, get back with you. But do understand that he's in Australia and he's 16 hours ahead of us. So there might be a part where he's sleeping. So keep that in mind. Don't listen to all the negativity of anybody that brings down anybody's belts. There's a couple of trolls that want to be jealous that they're not getting a free belt to review and put up, so that they want to talk nasty about it. But yes, he is. Yes, he is. But just contact Colin. Join Wide World of Belts on Facebook. Join Love Those Wrestling Belts on Facebook. Another great group is Championship Belt Brothers, Classic Championship Belts. There's Wide World of Belts. Join C4 as well.
Belt Masters.
Championship Belt Brothers. Ben over there, those guys. But if you got any questions, just hit up Colin. He'll always help you. If you want more information on Colin's website at c4authenticbelts.com, it has all the breakdown of everything that Colin went over and what it's made of. I mean, it's got more specs than what he went over today. It's got all the order information. Before we go, is there anything you wanted to add there, Colin?
No, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Kevin. Not David, Kevin. And everybody, all the C4 members. There's a special group that's getting bigger, which is C4 Owners Club, which you're part of. And it's all about brotherhood, really. Brotherhood, sisterhood. If you appreciate and love what we do, we love you back in return.
All right. We appreciate it, everybody, and enjoy this video as we exit out of here of what this is all about. We appreciate everybody. You guys have a great night, and see for you later.